Hello there, you wonderful, gorgeous human being you. This is Chris from TechSpert, and I'm here with the Redmi Note 8T, a fresh new budget-friendly smartphone. Had quite a few good, affordable handsets hitting at the end of 2019, start of 2020. This bad boy costs just 179 quid here in the UK, and yet it boasts a quad-lens rear camera, a nice Gorilla Glass finish, Snapdragon 665 chipset, performance, 4000 mAh battery, some really strong specs for that sub £200 price point. So without further ado, let's whip it out and have a good old tour of the hardware and the software here on the Redmi Note 8T, and I will be using it as my personal handset for a full review as well, so please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell to be the first to see that action. So there's the actual smartphone itself, the Redmi Note 8T. Let's just set that aside for a second, see what else you get in the box. So in here, nice bit of pokey pin device action, so you can actually get your SIM in there, and quite a lot of the budget smartphones these days do come with its own protective cover bundled in the box as well, which is great to see, great bit of extra value for money. Just helps to keep your purchase in nice pristine condition. It is your typical rubber Johnny cover, so just slap the Redmi Note 8T in like so. Oh, bit of a tight fit, said the actress to the bishop. Hang on, let's attack this from another angle. Also said the actress to the bishop. Oh, come on, you bugger. There we go. Bloody hell. That was a bit of a struggle. But at least you know that that cover's on there nice and tight. That ain't going to come flying off unexpectedly. And as you can see there, you've still got the design showing through and everything, so it doesn't ruin the overall aesthetics much beyond obviously adding a bit of chunkiness. And yeah. And then if you have a squint inside the rest of the box, it's pretty straightforward stuff by the looks of it. You get your 2-pin European adapter in this case, but you should get a 3-pin plug if you order it here in the UK. Touch wood. And a bit of Type-C USB action as well. Lovely stuff. Alright, so now let's turn our attention to the actual Redmi Note 8T itself. And as you can see there, fairly standard looking for a budget blow, although I do quite like the aesthetics. You've got this typical sort of gradient style finish, as you can see, a lighter hue up top, working towards a deeper sort of blue down below. You can pick up the Redmi Note 8T in 3 different colours. This is the Starscape Blue, very dramatic. You can also grab it in Moonlight White or Moon Shadow Grey. Moon Shadow Grey is basically just black. Yeah, for a sub £200 smartphone, certainly looks pretty damn nice, and it's constructed from glass as well. You get a Gorilla Glass 5 coating back and front as well, so hopefully that should help to improve the hardiness of it as well. It's certainly got a decent heft to it, that's for sure, so it certainly doesn't feel toy-like or anything like that. And it does have a splash-resistant exterior coating as well, so don't go dunking it in the shower or anything like that, but it should be fine in typically inclement British weather. As you can see there, slapped on the back, you do get a rear-mounted physical fingerprint sensor, possibly the tiniest scanner I've ever actually seen on a smartphone. It's so dinky I won't be able to get my entire fingertip on there, I don't think, but it seems to be reasonably located, quite comfortable and easy to find because it is slightly indented in the surface there, as you can see. And as you can see there, that quad lens camera grille does jut somewhat from the surface of the smartphone as well, not to a particularly troublesome degree, but it does mean if you're using the Redmi Note 8T on a flat surface, it will rock back and forth a bit. And if we pull out the old SIM tray as well, you'll see you've got room not only for 2 different nano SIM cards, but also a microSD memory card as well. Great stuff. And then the rest of the Redmi Note 8T is fairly straightforward. You do actually get a headphone jack down below, awesome stuff, Type-C USB port, and a nice bottom firing speaker, pretty standard. Again, and of course your power button and your volume rocker. So let's see if the Redmi Note 8T has some juice in the tank, and then we can get it all set up and tour the rest of the hardware and of course that lovely software. Right, so the Redmi Note 8T is all set up, and I just wanted to start by saying already this phone is impressive. Despite costing just under £200 here, you get full dual band Wi-Fi support, you get NFC support, so there are no obvious features missing from this device, which is great to see at that sort of sub £200 price. Now what we have as far as the software is concerned is a bit of Android 9 action, but of course you've got Xiaomi's MiUI launcher slapped on top to change up the general look and feel and add some new features. At the moment it's MiUI 10, but it looks like we've got a system update which will hopefully take it up to MiUI 11, so keep it nice and current. As you can see, even though you've got Android 9, the MiUI does add some Android 10 style features like the dark mode as well, which is just nice and easy on the peepers and also good from an energy efficiency point of view. And as you can see, there are tons and tons of extra features on top of that as well. Unfortunately, by default, there is no apps tray that is missing in action. All of your apps are just slapped there on your desktops, kind of similar to the likes of iOS. But you do get plenty of other customization, at least buried away in the settings. You can change up the general home screen, the grid layout, all that sort of shenanigans. And of course, if you don't particularly like the MiUI launcher, if you'd rather get the apps tray back and add a little bit of extra customization, you can always just go into the home screen and change the default launcher up, so it's nice and straightforward. I did just round up some of my favorite Android launchers that you can download right now in 2020, so definitely go check that out if you want to see a full list of recommendations. And as you can see here, updating to MiUI 11 has changed the general look of the settings menu. It looks a bit neater neater and tidier now, not quite as full on. Things have been organized a bit better, but it's still the same general features and everything buried away in there. So I will be going through that in depth in my full review. Now let's shift from the software and take a squint at the Redmi Note 8T's hardware instead. And up front, you've got a lovely 6.3-inch IPS display. As you can see, that stretches fairly edge-to-edge. You do get a chunky little bezel action down below with the Redmi branding on there, but apart from that, nothing too obnoxious. Little dinky little nipple notch up top as well, but again, doesn't intrude too much into the action. If we just load up an app, as you can see there, it's a bit more obvious. So it'll poke in a little bit if you go full screen in YouTube, for instance. So yeah, as you can see there, it does intrude a tiny little bit, but not much at all, and it's pretty standard for a budget smartphone these days. And on the likes of Netflix and everything, you'll have the sort of black band there as well. And you do actually have a high notch option buried away in the Redmi Note 8T's settings if you want to obscure it from view. Now, full HD resolution helps to keep everything nice and crisp, as you can see there. The colours look nice and natural as well, and you've got full control over the output. You've got the usual night mode settings, all that kind of shenanigans, everything you would expect. If we boost up the volume, we can check out that built-in mono speaker as well. Into place. And you can call up the notifications tab with just a quick double tap of that desktop as well. Handy again with a massive smartphone. So not bad output. It's not the loudest around, that's for sure, but actually reasonably clear even on that top volume. There's not much distortion or static or anything like that, so that's great to hear. And of course you do have that headphone jack and full Bluetooth support as well if you want to go wireless. I'm pretty impressed to find a Qualcomm Snapdragon 665 chipset packed inside of the Redmi Note 8T as well, which you'll find on several more expensive smartphones. I believe the likes of the Motorola One Zoom, for instance, had it, and that was over twice the price of this bad boy. A couple of little stutters so far just as I'm setting the phone up, but again, that's pretty standard for pretty much any smartphone. It does only have 3 gigs of RAM stashed in it. I believe there is a 4 gig model available overseas. I don't think you can get that here in the UK, but hopefully, touch wood, the performance will be fine. Again, stay tuned for my in-depth review for all you need to know on that. There shouldn't be any battery wars either, as you get a 4000 mAh cell stuffed inside with 18-watt fast charge support as well. So fingers crossed you won't have to rely on the likes of the battery saver mode even at the end of a busy day. Unfortunately, the news really ain't great when it comes to the storage though. You only get 32 gigabytes on board. Again, I believe there's an overseas model with 64 gig if you want to upgrade your price point a little bit. Unfortunately, yeah, 32 gigs, that's going to fill up really fast, especially when you consider I haven't even begun to install my own personal apps yet, and already you've only got 18 gigs actually available. Thankfully, you do have that micro SD memory card support though, so you can at least use that to boost the storage when needed. And so before we finish, let's take a quick look at that quad lens rear camera setup as well. You get a 48 megapixel primary lens, f1.75 aperture, uses a good bit of pixel binning to get you a nice bright sharp 12 megapixel image. And then that's backed here by an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, as well as 2 megapixel macro and depth sensors as well. So no telephoto lens, as you'd kind of expect given that sub £200 price point. Now if we dive on into the camera app, it looked familiar to anyone who's used a Xiaomi or indeed a Redmi phone in the past. Lots of settings and toggles and stuff to get your head around. So you've got an AI mode up top that's basically scene recognition. Just helps to boost the colors and certain aspects of the photo when it detects certain subjects. You've got your HDR mode up top, of course, as well. Let's turn that on to auto. That'll just help out with those high contrast situations. Got the likes of the macro mode up top as well. So give that a tap, it'll swap to that macro lens, and that's really good for those up close shots. And of course, you've got the usual wankery like beauty modes and filters and all that kind of shenanigans if you just don't want to take a natural looking photo. It's quick and easy to swap to that ultra wide angle lens as well. Just quick tap of this little icon down here. And as you can see there, we've got a nice wide angle view of Mr. Teddy. You can also do a 2x digital zoom just by tapping there. And of course, you can pinch in and out with your fingers as well to do a bit of zoomy zoom. You can actually shoot up to 48 megapixel images as well if you don't want to use the old pixel binning. You just want that maximum resolution setting. And of course, you've got a video mode which allows you to shoot to 4K resolution footage. And again, you can flick between the different wide angle and standard views if you like. And of course you've got the likes of slow motion video, and you do have a dedicated night mode as well. So if you want to shoot a low light snap, that'll just take lots of different shots at different aperture settings and then smush them all together, hopefully for a nice well balanced result. Again, check back for my full review to see what I think of all that. And you've got a portrait mode as well. Let's not skip over that. So that'll use that depth sensor in order to make sure your subject is nice and crisp while also blurring out the background with a lovely HD bokeh style effect. And last but not least, a good bit of pro mode action as well. So you can manually tweak settings such as the white balance, get very different results depending on your current situation. Oh, and whatever you do, don't forget to turn off the bloody annoying watermark, otherwise you'll get that at the bottom of every single photo you take. And then if we swap around to the front-facing camera, it's a 13 megapixel f2.0 effort. Hopefully should be absolutely adequate for your selfie needs. And you can, I believe, once again, shoot portrait mode shots using that front-facing camera eventually. Yep, there we go. Of course, it is only a single lens, so it's just using software smarts to detect you and then blur out the background. But hopefully, touch wood, you get reasonably good results from it. Still busy processing, there we go. And there you have it. That right there, in a nutshell, is the new Redmi Note 8T. Certainly for 180 quid, seems like some very solid specs overall, some very impressive hardware, minus of course the storage, which kind of sucks a bit. The software, MiUI, well, I'm not the biggest fan of MiUI, but I'll definitely try living with it for a few days, see how that ends up. Might end up just sticking my own launcher on top, to be perfectly honest, but certainly 180 quid, I reckon that's top value. So what do you think? Are you tempted by the Redmi Note 8T? Definitely bung your comments down below and stay tuned for an in-depth review. And cheers for watching, everyone. Love you. Bye.